you know what? Let's just be haters for a minute. Let's have a little bit of fun.
I can put the hater hands.
Oh yeah. What is the worst order, ride, whatever it was from whatever app it was? What was the worst actual offer you ever took from a gig app?
11 big screen TVs, no tip. That's crazy.
You become CEO of any major gig app platform.
I'll just go DoorDash because why not? People are going to love that.
DoorDash? Write this down.
Get on it. I'm after you. Come on.
Last interview of the day, I had to record the man himself. I had to get an interview with Mr.BetonYou, Pedro Santiago. How you doing, my friend?
Keen, I'm doing great, man. Happy to be here. Thanks for everything today. It's been wonderful.
Yeah, it's been wonderful. It was great to meet you over the weekend, and just overall, it's been so nice being here in Los Angeles, California. It's a huge change of environment for both of us, but I mean, especially for me, all the way on the east side of the coast for me. And I wanted to talk a little bit about just the whole scene of the gig economy, especially with you, because you've been very vocal about your opinions, but you're also somebody who's clearly trying to help people out in any way, shape, and form you can. So really, I want to think about what's going on with the world of gig work and for gig drivers. So in the most honest way you can describe it for a camera, for an interview, what do you think is the biggest threat to gig drivers right now, and how much control do gig drivers really have in finding solutions to this?
It's a great question. If you would have asked me this 2 years ago, I would have said I think we have control. I think we can accept, decline. We could deactivate ourselves. We could not do an app. We're having, as the months and months go and the years, in my opinion, we have less control. This is the reason. There's a couple, but with the amount of people that come to do this work, the saturation levels, the average American struggling, so now that might bring them to a side hustle to supplement income or a job loss or a layoff. The more people doing this work, the more power the companies have. And autonomy is something that is going to be around and it's going to continue to grow, but it's not an issue right now for you and I or the average gig worker. But the more people that do this and the more saturation levels there are in every city year over year, we're fighting each other. The companies know it. They can lower the base pay. They can put a tier program in. They can put some kind of incentive, which can be real or not, but we're fighting each other. And we have less and less control as time goes. The longer you stay in it as a gig worker, you might learn how to do the apps, and you should learn how to do the apps. But you're going to get less and less control, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. It's something that I think every gig driver who's been in the scene for even a little more, just like a year, they've seen it literally happen in front of them, where in the beginning they got this, they got that, and then a year passes and what the heck, where'd all my bonuses go? You know, where's this, where's that? So in your mind, where do you think the next step is for the gig drivers who are finally starting to see the serious bonuses of being their own boss and being an independent contractor for themselves? Where do you think that next step is for a lot of those people?
I think for the small minority of gig workers, you could do this full time, figure it out, take care of your family, have a secure future. That's not many. For the mass majority of gig workers, the future, in my opinion, is to be able to have an exit strategy. Find something that you're going to work towards so you're not dependent upon the gig economy app, which could go away or change at any moment. You don't want to be too dependent upon it. Find an exit strategy, and that's going to be personalized and be different for everybody. A lot of people get into this, they do it short-term, part-time, paying down debt. You're having goals, and it's a great way to use these apps. But if you stay too long, you know, you have to build your own exit strategy. You have to build your own thing. You have to be working towards something so that you're not feeling like you're stuck. And I think a lot of drivers kind of feel stuck, and the frustration sets in, and the pay just isn't going to be sufficient in most markets, in my opinion. So,
yeah, great points. So let's take a minute to talk about DoorDash.
Let's do it.
Okay. So very famously, a big event happened last year. You released a video, I got deactivated from DoorDash. And maybe that wasn't the exact title, but you know what I mean. And you were somebody that literally had DoorDash ingrained in the name of, you were the DoorDash Jesus. That was you as your identity. And quite some time has passed. And just recently, you actually just got reactivated. So congrats? Question mark?
Congrats is appropriate.
It's one term. But there was something very specific that I thought of, because as times go, when it comes to things so massively changing in life, in terms of changing in, you had something that was such a centerpiece of what you were doing, and then it's no longer even an option. Were there any specific details or thought processes that a lot of DoorDash specific drivers had that you only really came to understand or understood when you got deactivated or through deactivation?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. For the longest, I was always pretty real with my reality of DoorDash and what I would talk about. It was either positive or negative based on my experience or other drivers, what I heard from them. But I was kind of, I got a lot of pushback for about a year because I was kind of being positive for DoorDash. People were calling me a DoorDash shill. He's being paid, that's never the case, right? And what the irony is, the minute that I got a relationship with somebody at DoorDash and I started talking to them a little bit and getting some insights, was when I got deactivated. Now, that's not on DoorDash's fault. I did that to myself. But I think a lot of people were telling me, hey, Pedro, you can make more without DoorDash. You should venture out. You should do this. DoorDash isn't great. And I always push them back against that because my experience was overall kind of positive because I just use it as an app. I try not to be too emotional about it. But the second I was deactivated, honestly, I felt a little bit of relief because now, you know what? I don't have to do the DoorDash content if I don't want to. I can try something else. It made me flex other YouTube content creation muscles. It in some ways forced me to look in the mirror and say, I shouldn't have DoorDash in the middle name anymore. I don't do it. I can't do it. I can talk about it. But I took that out. And it took a little bit of a hit on YouTube for that. But it made sense because I'm not doing DoorDash anymore. So it kind of opened my eyes to the reality of the app. Also, the opportunities in doing other content and other gig work, right? I didn't know what I didn't know. And sometimes you have to you got to be smacked right in the face in order to have a little bit of reality. And I wouldn't change anything. And my account was like magically reactivated. And I've been hearing from other drivers that happens over the course of months. That might come back to you. And right now I'm kind of like steadfast. I'm not going to do it because I don't need to, and I don't want to go backwards. And DoorDash is a great app for a lot of people, and it's an opportunity, but it's one that I have found other ways to make money, even beyond the gig apps. And for me, that's been a blessing.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's such great advice too, because I think so many people have that mindset of, oh, well, I can just use this app and this can be what I do. And as long as it works, it works. And, I'll complain from time to time, won't we all?
Yeah.
But there is that concern that I think a lot of people forget is that you have full autonomy until you don't.
Yep.
You have that momentum until you don't, when
you have
suddenly
control until you don't.
You have control until you don't. So that is something that's so important for people to remember, is that at any point in time, you can get deactivated. You can agree, you can disagree, but these are companies that can say you are not fit for this app anymore. You are gone.
Yep.
And you can appeal. So overall, for the people who have seen your videos, what do you think they have noticed within the last year, considering the basic requirement to shift content away from specifically DoorDash? And what do you see in yourself having changed in that last year as well?
That's a great, listen, I'm gonna delve a little beyond the gig apps just for a minute here, because I appreciate that question, because my viewers have seen a pretty dramatic shift in my content. Now, I still do gig content. I still relative in it. I still work 30 hours a week or so, or sometimes maybe a little less, sometimes a little more. So I'm still going to make that kind of content, but I've shifted my mind in a lot of ways. Personal things have happened to me, and I share that on my YouTube channel, because from day one when I made content, I was kind of in my mind. I said, I'm going to do a video a day about whatever happens, good, bad, and different. And I'm going to continue to make that content. So as life hits me, it's beyond the gig apps for me. I'm not just going to make, I've opened my life up quite a bit in the last year, and I think people have seen it, and some people have appreciated it and some haven't. But for me, it being deactivated on DoorDash and having something taken away, and then also seeing the views maybe go down, it humbled me in a way.
Yeah.
And I needed that. And I've mentioned it in some of my videos. I needed that. Because sometimes when you make YouTube content, it can give some people, and I'll speak for myself, it gives you a false sense of reality of how important you are, how not important you are, what people think or how they value you. And I needed that in some ways. So my content and even my mode and my it's shifted on YouTube, and I feel very grateful for that to happen. And I feel very blessed that people still watch, that people still look to me for value and answers or relatability. And I'm going to continue to give my audience what I can, and because people still watch. But I needed to be humbled. So it's been a very humbling last 9 to 12 months for me. But I wouldn't change anything.
Yeah, I love to hear that. It's great to always see just the personal progress that even the negative things can make in life. I've been there myself. I think we all have in our own ways.
Yeah.
Another fun question. I've asked this to a couple other people, and you've been kind enough to actually help with helping record some of these, so you already know where I'm going with this.
Okay.
What was the last time you either ordered something from DoorDash or Uber or Lyft or anything like that? What was the last thing you ordered from a gig app, and what was it?
Well, I mean, we did a Waymo together today.
Oh, that's
so
true, yeah.
Aside from that, and that was a fun, different experience. From LAX, I got an Uber here and had a great driver named Garrett. We spent an hour and 20 minutes together in his Tesla talking. He's kind of newer. He just started in November. So I use the apps. If I'm traveling, I use them regularly. When I'm home in St. Louis, I might order Uber Eats or DoorDash maybe once a month, not that often, but I still use them because I think it's important as a content creator and gig worker to use them. See what the customer is experiencing. What are they being charged? What kind of experience am I going to have as a consumer on an Uber or a driver or a DoorDash delivery? So I still try to stay relevant and order them at least once a month. So
yeah, I love to hear that. And how much did you tip him?
I tipped a guy yesterday $15.
$15.
It cost me $70, and I left him. So I left him basically 20%.
There you go.
I think he told me he only got like $40 of that, which isn't that bad, I guess.
It's not the worst in the world, but yeah.
He made $55 an hour and 20 minutes, so not horrible.
Not horrible. I mean, it's always just dependent on what you see and what you need from
I'm
LA.
always going to tip a driver because I'm a driver.
Okay, of course I have to do this one. All right. You know what? Let's just be haters for a minute. Let's have a little bit of fun.
I can put the hater hat.
Oh yeah. What is the worst order, ride, whatever it was from whatever app it was? What was the worst actual offer you ever took from a gig app for the content, specifically for the content?
Good one.
And how did it end up panning out?
Oh, I'll give you a rideshare one and a food delivery one. Okay. I've done some rough food deliveries, right? And sometimes for the content. I'll go to when I delivered on Walmart Spark. I accepted an order. I think the pay was probably $30. It wasn't bad, and the mileage was low. 11 big screen TVs. I filmed it on my channel, and I was a little hot about it, but I tried to be positive. 3 different workers from Walmart came out to help me load it. It took us 20 minutes to load it, to figure it out, and I have a big SUV. It took me longer to do that than it was to drive. And then I get to the guy's house, and I think it was he's had Airbnbs, and he was just getting them delivered. He was probably a Walmart Plus, whatever. And I mean, the dude didn't even offer to help take them out, nothing. 11 big screen TVs, no tip, $30. That was pretty bad. So for me, it's not just always a $2 or $3. Sometimes it's 11 big screen TVs. That's crazy.
That should be illegal.
Excuse me, yeah.
And then for rideshare, yeah.
Yeah, and I've done rideshare. I mean, I've picked people up that have just been. I think for me, I picked up a mom and her 2 daughters about maybe 3 weeks ago, and her kids got in the car and just treated my car like it was a playground. And I'm a very chill Uber rider or driver. I don't make a big fuss and muss. I'm not going to parent your kids. You're the mom. But she didn't even say, these kids are jumping in the back seat, doing all, they wanted me to take them here and take them there off the app. So I think for me, when people are just not respectful of our rides, that doesn't make a lot of sense to me, And I think this fare was probably paying like $6 or $7 going to maybe 5 miles. I was doing a promotion, so I was working towards a bigger payout. But I think when passengers get in cars and they're just not respectful, that always kind of gets me a little bit.
Yeah.
Kindness is free, Those are the 2 ones that are in the last 6 months that kind of pop out to me. So
yeah. Man, yeah. That's insane. 11 flat screen TV.
Screen TV. Not 1, not 2, not 3, and they fit. So yeah, it's crazy, man. It's crazy.
That's absurd.
Yeah.
All right. Let's do a fun one. Let's do a fun one here. So, we're going to go with a little bit of a fun little hypothetical story. It's a little fun story. You become CEO of any major gig app platform, CEO for one day. You are allowed to enter the company. You can change 3 core policies. You can't change all the rules, but you can change 3 core policies about the company internally. What company do you choose? What gig app company do you choose? What policies are changed? And what effect does it have long-term for the company?
Great question. I'll just go DoorDash because why not? People are going to love that. First thing, deactivation appeals and policies should be looked by actual human beings. When you deactivate a human being that's earning on your platform, okay, and has helped you build your company, I know you use AI and software to vet certain things, and some deactivations are just. Let's be honest here, right? But when you deactivate somebody, a human eye should look at that within 2-3 days, right? And see if it's just, if it's warranted, and there's any information that the deactivated driver can provide that could help with that. That's one thing I would change right off the jump, because getting deactivated can be a gut punch, and people are trying to earn for their families and pay rent and pay bills. So that's one right away that I think I would change. Another thing I would change is the transparency on DoorDash. No more hiding tips, no more money, no more funny money, no more, oops, here's more money, here's a $6.25 that turns into $50. Full tip and trip transparency in every market without legislation. If you're going to call us 1099 gig workers, you should show us everything and allow us to make a good decision. And the second thing is, there should never be any order in any city worth less than a gallon of gas in said marketplace. So for example, I'm in St. Louis. I should never see a $2 or $3 order, ever. Regardless of tip, mileage, how long it's going to take me, I should never see that. I think it's just not fair. And fair is, in business terms, it is what it is. But I think that would change the mindset of a lot of drivers, the perception of the company. There shouldn't be a double stacked DoorDash order for $3 where one's paying $2 and one's paying $1. We should never see that. There is money there to never have something less than a gallon of gas in any market in any city in America.
I love that. I love all of those.
Quick fixes right away. Yeah.
I love that. I love all of those. I think DoorDash, write this down.
Get on it. I'm after you. Come on.
All right. So let's think about the long term. Let's think about the long term. We're going to wrap this up. Let's think about the long term of the gig economy. If you're thinking about all of the gig apps that are of prominence right now, or even just like upstarters, up and coming ones, in the long term, maybe 10, 20, 30 years, whatever it is, which gig app survives the longest and why?
DoorDash and Uber will be around the longest. Uber in the rideshare game. They're not going anywhere. Their market share is going to continue to go up. They're becoming profitable, and they're looking to become profitable. So they're going to continue to grow. People will still need to get rides, airport rides. They're going to get Uber Eats. There's the Uber Connect. Uber will continue to grow alongside DoorDash. DoorDash's market share, I think, as of like this week, was close to 63.5% in delivery, not just food delivery, but we're talking retail, grocery. They're going to continue to push in that way with autonomy. DoorDash is going to continue to figure out everything. I talked to somebody today, okay, that gave me some insight, and I won't say who it is, this morning, that talked about they're getting into the medical field, delivering blood and pathogens and all these things. DoorDash is wanting to be and will continue to grow in getting anything delivered to your home. At some point, they're going to be delivering babies. I jokingly say that, okay? But for $2, you'll see you can become a doctor and deliver somebody's baby, right? DoorDash, at some point, 10 years from now, will probably be closer to 70% market share because that's what they're pushing, and their stock price is going to continue to grow. We've seen that trend. Those are the two apps I believe that have staying power. Yeah.
I couldn't agree more. Yeah, those are just the two strongest gig drives. Yeah. All right, one more question, and this one is just a, heart-to-heart type of question.
Love it.
You have been in the world of the gig economy for how long? How long has it been now for gig?
5 years. I started 5 years ago part-time.
So 5 years. Over the last 5 years, as you've transitioned not only obviously in the gig economy, in content creation, and just in life, what would you say personally was the biggest life lesson you've learned, both from gig apps and in life, how life has changed with the experience of all of those variables for you?
We are expendable. I'm going to look at the camera when I say this. For me personally, I love this question. Thank you for asking it. for me personally, I mentioned the word humbling experience, right? I had a YouTube channel. I've done conferences. I've been to this conference. This is my 3rd year. I've put on 2 in-person conferences, a virtual one. You know, your subscribers grow. Nobody cares. Not you, that you're a nobody that's watching this. But what I mean by that is you can be deactivated at any point. Your earnings could go up and down. You could throw a conference. You could not throw a conference, right? It's humbling doing this kind of work because the freedom and flexibility that it gives us as a 1099 is fantastic. But it can go away at any moment. YouTube is a 1099. Google sends you a 1099, right? The apps send you a 1099. So be careful with that freedom and flexibility because it can go away just like that. And always have a plan B, C, and D, okay? Because things can go away. You might think you're the big bad guy and everybody loves you. It's irrelevant. Take care of yourself. Treat people well. Treat them how you want to be treated, okay? And if you become humbled, take it. Eat that piece of pie and try to be of service to other people because that's what I'm learning now. And I believe that that's my purpose, more so being self-serving. How can I help other people? And for me, you got to be humbled in order to get to that point, personally for me.
I could not agree more. That was a beautiful answer to that question, Pedro.
I appreciate
It's a pleasure.
you, man.
Thank you so much,
Thanks
man.
for everything this time. I was happy to help you, and thank you for the
Thank you for all the help, and thank you for this interview. This was lovely. Guys, Mr.BetonYou on YouTube. Go check him out. Go subscribe. Obviously, at Key in the Cargo, make sure you subscribe to me as well. And ladies and gentlemen, as always, stay cool.